Became a drummer at the age of 7 years old in 1983. And how it started is my sister had a pair of drumsticks in her room that I would visit my sister in her room all the time to see what's up. And I noticed in the closet she had these two pair of sticks, and I gravitated them pretty quick. I just was interested and find them very fascinating, these drumsticks, and I didn't know what they were, be very honest. So I asked her, what are these things? And she explained to me that drumsticks is what drummers play to play the drums. And I'm young. We don't know things from one end to one end when you're this young. But she showed me videos, at the time on VCR back in the early 90s of what drummers do, what they do with these things. And
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters on That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. And joining me today, it's fellow drummer, Michael Jordan. No, not the basketball star, but a good friend of ours. How you doing?
how's it going?
Not too bad. How you been?
Good. You?
Not too bad, although the weather, it's been kind of crappy the last couple of days. Actually, I think during one work week, we had one nice sunny day outside. And it was actually when it felt like a spring day outside. So I guess how's the weather been out there? Actually, where are you hailing from, actually?
From born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, but I currently live in Goodyear, Arizona as right now.
I guess how's the weather been? The do part two.
It's been actually pretty good. It's been, in the, 50s and, mid 60s right now. So it's been doable. Feels like we're getting an early spring, surprisingly, but it's been actually decent.
Well, Groundhog Day's next week, too, so I guess we'll know if we're getting 6 more weeks of winter or whatever. We got spring right around the corner, so we'll see what happens.
Right.
I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But at this point, I don't know why they still do it. It's just some tradition, but we know it's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. That's normally how it goes, so.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. So I guess, does your name obviously get confused with the Michael Jordan from the Chicago Bulls?
Yeah, they do. They always expect me to go, when I'm in an interview or, going anywhere, they see my name. They always expect a tall guy to walk into a room or a scenery and they see me like, oh, it's you, so yeah, it has its days. It has its days where it has an advantage sometimes and it has a disadvantage sometimes. So it's kind of fun to play with, but it has mostly good positive vibes though for it.
I take it at least try to sneak out some VIP tickets just from mentioning the name on the phone.
You know what's funny with that is one time I got a break of my bill I had to pay one time, and because my name was Michael Jordan, the guy that was doing my bill was a huge fan of them. So he gave me a huge break on that. So it has, like I said, has its advantages. I've been to restaurants where he had to do a sit down at a reservation for a table, and sometimes I got like a good seating at a restaurant because of my name. So like I said, it has massive advantages to it too. So
I think it was a Geico commercial who did something similar, but it was like this bald-headed white guy, I think it was, and his name was Michael Jordan as well. And every time he would mention his name, everybody would just look up and be like, oh, that sort of thing. And I think the last one was also, I think it was a chauffeur or those sorts of drivers. They'll pick you up from the airport and they'll drive you to your destination. He's like, you serious? Let's go. Because he was always like, check the odds of meeting the Michael Jordan. So
that's funny.
Yeah, yep. It was a funny commercial, though, but we digress. But it's good to have you on here, Mike, nonetheless. So, Mike, the way this is going to work, I'm going to ask you some questions here, and let's get to know you more, both as the drummer, but also as the individual, too. So, you all ready?
Yeah, ready to go.
All right. So, we'll start with the first one right here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become a drummer?
Became a drummer at the age of 7 years old in 1983. And how it started is my sister had a pair of drumsticks in her room that I would visit my sister in her room all the time to see what's up. And I noticed in the closet she had these two pair of sticks, and I gravitated them pretty quick. I just was interested and find them very fascinating, these drumsticks, and I didn't know what they were, be very honest. So I asked her, what are these things? And she explained to me that drumsticks is what drummers play to play the drums. And I'm young. We don't know things from one end to one end when you're this young, but she showed me videos, at the time on VCR back in the early 90s of what drummers do, what they do with these things. And I think the brand of sticks I think they were called JoJo sticks. There were drumsticks from the 80s. I think that's the right one of back then, but they were very like old school brown looking, color vintage looking, and then they had, of course, the nylon tips. And to be very honest, these drumsticks my sister had were the perfect nylon sticks I've ever seen. Like the tips were perfect. The whole stick was just had the right feel. But that's how I got started. And eventually my sister showed me that drums have actually notes, and I didn't realize they did have notes either. So I had no idea how drums were from the very get-go, but it was fascinating to me. She let me borrow all her music sheets from her days of going to school and drumming, and so she taught me pretty much how to read music in the very beginning. And then when I got home to my parents' house, I would start beating on pots and pans, like every day, young drummers start out with, tapping on the desk, hitting everything they possibly can. And that was typically me. And then I realized that, this is really fun. And from that very day, I went forward from that and never looked back.
Was your sister in drumline, or did she also play in the band?
It's funny, but that my sister was a drummer in, I think it was middle school, and she played the drum set. And then in high school, she was trying to get the marching band, but for some reason she just could not get in there. And then what happened next is she took the next step to try to get my mom to buy her a drum set. Of course, my mom, divorced at the time, I think, from her first husband, couldn't really afford my sister a drum set. So she borrowed drums from the middle school and then in high school. And then she learned from there. And eventually, sad to say, she just stopped playing totally. I think in her late teens is when she stopped playing. So, but what happened in her own right, she just gave the next totem to me to take it forward. And that's what I did. And then I kept playing with it throughout the years. I never stopped. So it was kind of like every time my sister sees me play, she's so proud of me. It's something that she always wanted to do. From this very day, she said, I wish, Mom could have got me at least some kind of drum kit to progress on it, because she said I would have taken it a lot further like I did. But she's just really happy I just took it, what she wished she could do.
She never picked up a drum set afterwards? I guess does she have her own little family and everything?
Yeah, but it's funny. I would say, man, if I can remember right, it was back in 2000. I got a new drum set after high school, and my sister came over and she got behind my kit. And I'll be honest with you, man, it was like the drums and my sister just looked great together. I mean, she realized when she was hitting on the drums, like, man, I haven't done this in ages, and it feels so weird. But she can still hold a beat pretty good. Basic beat, she was doing very fine. She was doing her real rolls around the kit. And I told her, I still tell her from this very day, it's like riding a bike. I tell her, sis, if you got in a drum set, just put some time into it. I bet you in the world you can pick it up. Probably in 2 years, you can probably be a decent drummer. So no, she's never touched a drum set since then that I'm aware of.
Yeah, or secretly she has it in the back cave somewhere.
Probably.
Something like that too. It would be nice, and it's always good to come full circle on it again, to be honest, and just hop on, really, because music is the language of the universe. Because I know in a couple other reviews, people have said like how music is like the language of the universe. One particular friend out of South Africa actually told me that too. So that one always rang with me because it's so universal and everything. So you see how helpful it is, especially in the family life too. Actually, did you and your sister, did you have like a little rivalry back in the day?
No, never did. She was pretty much for me the person that, just let me learn and let me take the podium. And she never there was really no competition. There's parts with my sister, I think she kind of hinted to me maybe a little bit of jealousy that, I was able to get, my drums through my dad, because she's my half sister, but we had different fathers, but same mom. But I think a little bit of her is envious of me at times that, I was able to get the drum set from my dad, and, mom never gave her anything. So it was kind of like a little bit of that, but no, nothing competitive. But I know this for sure, though. If she kept playing in practice, because she started playing the drums, I think it was in 87 or 88 or 87 in the late 80s. Because we're 10 years apart. So she definitely, if she kept up with the year, she'd probably be a professional drummer, probably playing a productive band by now if she kept with it. Yeah, I totally see that.
I see. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll leave it up to her to decide. I guess
Yeah.
speaking of drum sets, do you have one nearby by any chance, or is it in a separate room?
It's at my band member's house as of right now, and I have 3 kits. I have 2 in storage and 1 at rehearsal, so I have nothing to show right now.
I guess go ahead and walk us through what you got.
Well, I have. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see. Something is okay. Here we go. Sorry about that. So my one drum set I have, it's a Midtown Pearl kit. I love Pearl drums. It's the brand I go for. It's I want to say they're 7.5 ply poplar wood. It's a 11 by 12 or 10 by 10, and then it goes a weird size of 13 by 12 floor tom and a 16 by 16 bass drum. It pretty much is the floor tom flipped as a bass drum in this kit. And then the snare drums are really 5 point something. Oh man, 5.56 inch snare drum, something. It's a small snare drum, but it's like a normal snare drum, but it's like a little bit smaller, tighter in. But it's the Midtown series, which I highly recommend it for a lot of beginner drummers or drummers who are in a tight spot, tight space. This is the drum set for you if you can, look into getting one. And they have better new finishes now. They have cool looking finishes as of now. The one I got was when they first came out in 2015. It's cherry sparkle finish. It's a wrap finish around the kit. So my other one I have, it's the Session Studio Classic kit. It's in sheer blue. It's a 12, 13, 15 by 16 floor and a 16 by 16 floor tom. And the bass drum is a 20 by 18 inch bass drum, and the snare that came with is a basic 6.5 inch snare, basic snare drum, thicker snare drum, but it's the same average snare. And then I have bought this kit in 2019. I have a master custom 6-ply maple drum set in Apposite Green Sparkle. It's a 12, 13 in a normal 16 by 16 in a normal size snare, but this one is a little different with the bass drum. It's a 20 by 22 inch bass drum. It's longer, it's bigger, has a more boom to it. So when I play that kit, you can see the depth is more, deeper, longer bass drum when you see it from the side. Plus this kit is louder because the blue one is birch and kapor wood, the 2 plies together. Because that series when it first came out, it was the kapor and birch, and then now the series they remade them again, revamped them. Now they have birch and African mahogany, which is really cool actually. But this series is more, of course, meant for studio playing. Going into live sessions, you can play with this kit, but it doesn't have a punchy crack, powerful sound as the maple drums that I have. That one I like. But my little Midtown kit is really cool for tight spots, small gigs, small venues, coffee shops, if you're able to get in something like that. Like a jazz kit pretty much. But it does have a actually cool bass drum sound to it, surprisingly. But those are all my drums, and I play. For now, I'm playing Zildjian cymbals, but usually I play Paiste cymbals is my ultimate favorite. If I had a choice, I would totally love to be a Paiste and Dorsey, but yeah. But so far, I get the Zildjians, Pearl drums with all the sizes, finishes I told you, and yeah, that's pretty much my gear.
Like I always laugh when people will try to mispronounce Paiste with pasty or something like that too. Do you always hear that name too? All
the time, man. It's like when it's weird because when I had my very first Pearl drum set my dad bought me, that was the cymbal that I got was Paiste. My dad let me just pick whatever ride cymbal I wanted, and Paiste happened to be my first choice. I don't know about them. It's funny with Paiste cymbals. I played through a lot of Zildjians, Xavians, and those are only 2 I really played through the years. But when I always played a Paiste cymbal, I don't know what it is about them. They're just made heavier. I don't know what they use in their alloy, their cymbals, or the bronze they use, but those cymbals are almost hard to break. They're very, very, very strong, stable cymbals. Even to this, not the thinnest crash, but even your smaller crashes are pretty durable. So, and I also noticed a lot of heavy metal drummers go to those cymbals. So if you're a hard-hitting drummer, Paiste's the way to go.
I'd say it probably does a number on the sticks too if you're wailing on it all day, to be honest. So
yeah.
And actually going back to the earlier point where people seem to mix up the names a little bit too. It's almost like how they compare sticks with Vader, and then it's also pronounced Vater. So
I never heard the Vader part. I never heard. I heard Vader was more the common name, but the other one I never heard. No.
it's because it's spelled Vater. But whenever people were saying it, I thought they were doing it with like Darth Vader, for instance. But it's actually
yeah, he took the words right out of my mouth. It sounds like a Star Wars saying.
That's what I thought too, and I think like, oh my gosh, these people are pronouncing it wrong. We Americanized the term, so unfortunately, I don't know. Yeah. It's funny too. So
right.
But I guess speaking of drumsticks too, I guess what brand are your sticks?
I'm with Vic Firth. Been playing Vic Firth about 15 years. And there's only two sizes I use. There's the one size is the metal nylon red tip, or now they're coming with the regular wood tip. That's interesting with talking about drumsticks. A lot of drummers now, I've been hearing it since 2024 just started. They're preferring all wood tip, all wood. No nylon tips getting the thing of the past. It's all wood tip. A lot of drummers are going for those. So with this series of Vic Firth, I'm not seeing them anymore with the red nylon tip anymore. It's just straight wood. It's called the metal series. And then I'm also using with the drummer from Tool, Danny Carey. I use his signature stick, and his stick I think his stick has been out for, I think for like 12 years. Well, maybe it's been around over at least almost a decade. But I remember when I first saw his sticks, because I would go through so many drumsticks because I was playing a lot of 2Bs in my majority of my, teens and my, late teens, early 20s. Then as I got to my mid 20s, I started picking up, I was hitting harder, so I wanted to have a stronger stick. And one of the guys at Guitar Center recommended these sticks to me. So when I first held them, it feels like a marching stick, a little smaller than a marching stick, but has that perfect length, the perfect weight. But they are heavy sticks. If you don't have good forearms or strong forearms or arms in general, they are hard to play. But these fit me just right. So I only played 2 series from Vic Firth. That's it.
I did used to roll with Vic Firth, but I kind of moved over into collision drumsticks now because, one, I was breaking a good number of sticks too, because I play in metal music too. So I do a lot of the blast beam as my nice little exercise routine. And so unfortunately, you start doing a lot of wear and tear on your sticks. And it got to a point where I needed some new ones. And I figured, let's see what collisions are, because they were doing an endorsement at the time. So I figured, worth a shot. So I got the Collision 5BRs, which were a lot longer than the current Vic Firth sticks I have. And they're also more durable. So it really helps out doing a lot of the metal music too. So I think Collision's up and coming too, but I think Vic Firth still is like the industry standard for most musicians. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like it's the one that's most well known, to say the least.
It's funny. Collision sticks just last year, and they actually early the first week of 2024, they wanted to endorse me. They sent me their information. They mentioned to me, if you buy some of our product and you like what we have, we'll send you some gear to you. They just contacted me not long ago. So you mentioned them, so it sounds interesting. I can look into what they're about. So. But yeah, they just got with me like 3 weeks ago. So
I would say the endorsement thing, it does sound nice at first, but I think I've heard a little bit of a mixed review on it, because it sounds like you always got to keep buying this stuff, and then I think you have to throw in a little segment, maybe in your videos or something like that, depending on how you're doing it on social media, to say hey, I got this product right here. Make sure you go do it. You'll get this, maybe a coupon code or something like that, so you get it for a little bit cheaper. But I'll leave it up to you, mate. It's up to you, man.
Yeah, I don't know how endorsements work. I thought that when they see you, they're going to start sending you free gear. But I guess with Collision drumsticks, they want you to buy a little bit of their stuff, try it out. And if you like it, then that's when they'll because they DM'd me saying that if you like our stuff, we can work a contract out and blah, 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 blah. And so I said, okay. I just messaged them back saying, well, now's the time right now. I'm kind of happy with what I'm doing right now, but I definitely will get back to them if I ever want to change.
Let's see what happens, but good luck, mate. But I guess out of all the drum sets you do have too, have you ever played on electric drum sets before?
I have. Like I said, they're really They're really not my thing. I'm not against them, but I do respect them for one thing. Well, one thing in all things, but one thing I do like about electric drum sets is like you can lower the volume, you can change the pitch, and if you're in an apartment or in close quarters with your neighbors, that kind of helps you to deaden the sound. But yeah, I played them at Guitar Center, walk into Guitar Centers, and I just have a hard time. Like I'm so used to having an actual snare drum, toms, and this and this and this. But it's like I don't really prefer them, but I do respect them for what they are. I know Pearl Drums came out with a cool. And now I'll be very honest with you. If it came to electric drum set, what Pearl came out with, 3 years ago or something like that, and that actual electric drum set that actually is the actual drums, and you can actually put I think Adams is working with Pearl. And they can put your heads where, your normal heads would be, but they come with electric, pads on them or something like that with the actual, size of each tom, the snare and that. Now I'll be very honest, I would play that. And I think Pearl now has those and actually an electric drum set that is somehow it's already, I don't know how to put it, but it's already electrified throughout the shell, I guess. I don't know, but I would do that though. I'm just not a fan of the little pads around the drums, the kits of some electric drum sets of today. I'm just not a fan. I don't really care for the look, but I do respect them.
It sounds more like a hybrid set now that you mention it too. Is it like one of those ones you could like just flip the switch and like maybe changes the sound or whether it shuts it off completely, something like that?
Yeah, this series of drum set came out not long ago. I can't remember exactly or what series it is, but it's expensive though. I know that because it's electric, you're gonna pay a little bit more money. But they have like a cool, like a tamo finish on the actual shell. It's actually a shell of a drum that Pearl came out with. But they also have the option of actually just changing your actual drum set into making an electric drum set because they have like these pads that they can put on top of your actual shell drum, I guess, and then you can play it like that. But Pearl gives you two different options to have that electric action if that's what the drummer he or she wants.
I think DD Drum's doing something similar, but that's probably just a rumor. I don't really know at this point. So it remains to be seen. We'll have to see what happens, but it would be interesting to check something out like that. So probably two birds with one stone. So it helps out some of us drummers who are a little torn between getting an electric set or getting an acoustic set. So
yeah, it's a tough one. But I mean, the drummers I usually talk to or I talked about, they always are like me. They prefer the actual the shell, the wood, the feeling of the actual drum. But at times too, I'll give the electric drum set this much in this respect too. I didn't think about this a lot to right now. It will help your hearing because you can control the volume. So if you're, like I said, you're not damaging your ears as much. So that's actually a cool trait that I do like about the electric drum sets is that you can control the volume you can hit as hard as you want, but it will still be the same volume through your whole playing. But now like what I do when I play my drums, and it's a good tip for a lot of drummers to start early on this, is when you're playing an actual drum set, it's always good to wear some protection earplugs or, I stuff cotton balls in my ears or tissue paper to protect my hearing. But what's funny with that is, with the electric drum set, these guys look like they put earphones on, which I don't know what if they're doing that for protection or they're hearing music through what they're doing. I don't know. I never did that. But I also recommend that drummers are playing a live or actual drum set, wear ear protection.
Yeah, I can see why too, especially if you're playing in those. You say maybe it's the size of the venue too. Like if you got a small venue, maybe it would bounce off the walls and maybe connect with the ears a little bit more, maybe cause a little ear damage. You think something like that?
Yeah, because I know. Okay, so Lars Ulrich, he was one of my favorite drummers, but he suffers really bad from his hearing loss. I mean, I heard videos and interviews that he has this. I actually have it too. When I go to bed at night, the room wherever I'm at, it's this dead silence. I get that that ringing in my ear, but it's calmed down a lot since I started early. I started wearing my ear plugs in my ear or cotton balls in my ear or anything I could find to, not everything I can find, but something soft I can fit in my ear, maybe like 5-6 years ago. And before then, my hearing was just like I can constantly hear that constant beep, in your ear. and it was driving me nuts. But when I was around people or outside or, amongst other people talking, you don't hear it as much as when you're in a quiet state of mind in bed or everything's super quiet in your house. You hear it loud as day. It never goes away. And then I watched the interview of Lars on TV, and it showed what happened to him, and Lars said, he should have done this a long time ago to use ear protection. So now I use it. Plus, the cool thing about wearing ear protection when you're playing your drums, you hear your notes better. You hear the sound of what you're hitting clearer than you're playing without them.
I can see your point too, especially in terms of electric drum sets too, because I was able to pick up on certain notes afterwards whenever I was doing my own little drum covers and everything too. So I can see your point there. I did not know that about Lars, to be honest. So learn something new every day.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, that's on YouTube. You can see his interview. It's bad, man. I mean, it's to the point where it wakes him up at night and he can't get sleep sometimes. It's possibly why Lars at times, because he's not known for his practicing. He's one of the worst drummers to ever go to rehearsal. But there's times where if you watch Lars focus what he's going, he's always doing this. He's like, he has he looks like he always stresses with his hair, what hair he has left. But it's I think Lars at times he's battling that hearing problem he has, or it possibly hurts. There's one time I played a show and I was hitting hard. The whole band was vamping. Everybody was having a good time. But man, I tell you one thing, when I got home that night, my ring in my ears hurt so bad, and the ringing was at least about 3 to 4 days straight with the same sound, and it put me through a little bit of anxiety because the pain in my ears hurting and the ringing would not stop. So that's when I was looking to I went to a guitar center and I asked this guy, when does this ever stop? He says, you gotta start wearing some earplugs, brother, because it can damage your ears. And as drummers, that's the very common injury we can get is hearing loss. So Lars Ulrich had many years of that. He suffers from it today. So it's man, avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say outside of ear damage, it would also be self-inflicted bruises on our hands. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, okay. So I've been talking about that. There was one time that I can relate to that because drummers get blisters, cuts on their hands, and or I've done this 2 injuries. I hit cross-sticking on my snare to my floor. I think it was just cross-sticking over to my hi-hats. I would swing and hit my side of my face really fast. Or, I remember one time I actually sliced a little bit of my forehead with my stick because, you're going fast, man. You're doing whatever the song requires. And so I hit my face and gave me a bloody cut, like I got punched by a boxer. Another instance I had was when I was cross-sticking on my snare drum with my stick, switching off, and I remember that I flipped the stick really quick, and I happened to hit my finger right on the rim, and then I'm doing a rim shot with my finger, but pull full force, and it hurt, man, so bad. The worst of them all, and I just saw a drummer on Instagram do this, and it was horrible, man, but I had the same injury, but not as bad as this guy. So one time I was practicing, and my mom was cooking dinner or something like that, and I happened to hit the snare drum. Kid you not, the drumstick flips and stabs me right in the eye. And that was the scariest moment because, sometimes your hands loosen up or you get your muscles tighten up and you happen to drop a stick or lose a stick because it's a physical instrument. And it stabbed me right in my left eye. And for a second, my whole vision, my right eye went black. I freaked out. My mom took me to the hospital. And I would say that's a very dangerous injury because I've done that twice in my career of drumming as I stabbed my eye with the drumstick. And so what I learned from that is warming up, stretching before you play every time helps the muscles, loosen, helps you not to get stiff because a lot of drummers go through carpal tunnel and stiffness in the forearms and the hands. And when that happens, you tend to lose a drumstick or it pops back in your face. So yeah, you future drummers out there, be very careful that those are very common injuries. And good practice is stretch every time you practice and also wear earplugs when you play.
I didn't actually know about the stick coming up and hitting you in the eye. Actually, I think a couple times it hit me in the classes. I mean, that's one of the good benefits of having goggles or glasses to wear during any sort of session. So, yeah,
I should probably practice that. Get some sports goggles or something.
I think I used to ask those like way back in the day when I was doing Little League. It felt weird, but I guess it's because you're so used to wearing these, and then your eyes water up when you put on a new set with like new
Yeah.
frames and everything too. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to you, mate. So it's good to see you are doing well. So sorry I had to kind of go through that too, but it's at least good to see you still got your 2020 vision there. So it's all good.
I wish I had 2020. Yeah.
Well, it was a compliment. You were supposed to take that too. So right.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, you're good. But I guess speaking of Lars Ulrich, who else would you say has influenced you in terms of your drumming style?
Okay, so I have a few of them. I have Morgan Rose from Seven Dust, Mike Green from Disturbed, Alex Van Halen from Van Halen, Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich for the Big Swing Band era. Let's see, what else do I have? I have a few more in there. Will Kennedy from the Yellow Jackets, Chad Smith, of course, he's a common guy people like, but he's still, I love his personality, he's really cool. But great player. Let's see, who else do I have on my radar here? Janice Chambers, Joy Jordison, bless his soul, but the guy was an amazing drummer. I don't know if his name, I forget, but it's a drummer from Mudvayne. Is it Michael McDonald? Is that not Michael McDonald? What's the drummer from Mudvayne? He's
Matt McDonough.
Matt, thank you. That's the guy. He's one of my influences. I really like about it. He has some awesome double kick that's technical to try to copy what he does, but he's one of my influences. Vinnie Paul was I like Vinnie Paul because him and Lars have that same structure of power hitters, and I love guys like that. There is a guy on Instagram that I would love to say his name. I don't know if it's something I want to say, on this interview, but his name is Brian. Brian Evans is an amazing Instagram drummer. He is just an amazing drummer. I love his videos. He's awesome. He has his structure of him that just makes me influenced for what he does. I want to do eventually one day for what he's doing. But he's a fusion jazz drummer. Tommy Lee. I like Tommy Lee. Gosh, man, the list goes on. Tony Russell Jr. I also just recently, man, who just really influenced me, and I'm really liking him. I think you saw the same thing on Drumeo, was the drummer 2 from Sleep Token. I'm actually a huge fan of this guy now.
I think I did. I don't, I see emails every now and again from Drumeo as well, but I don't really pay much attention, to be honest. Actually, I think I tried to get him on this podcast as well.
Really?
Maybe the owner at some point. Yeah, and it had no promising at first, and then I think he just got caught up with everything else. Life got in the way, to say the least, too.
Wow, you can get him. Yeah, that'd be awesome to interview too, or whoever he knows. But yeah,
whoever it would be. I don't think it would be the head honcho, to be honest, but it would be nice. You went for all that whole list. You don't list Danny Carey. Where's the love, man? Oh
yeah, of course, Danny Carey. Yeah, I forgot. Plays darn sticks. It might as well be. I'm a huge fan of him. That's why I got his sticks. Yes. And there's a few more drummers in between there. I can't think of it, but those are the main. Carter Buford. Can't forget Carter. Carter is a big influence on me. And yeah, that's I would say my roster of guys I always looked up to all my years, and but yeah, that's something that all these guys in their own right, they influenced me by learning double kick, learning technique, learning working with the left hand side, your weak side to your right side. The thing is with me, I have to say a quick story. Carter Buford started me watching him working my left hand side, and I was always playing, right cross over the right hand to the hi hat. It's always a common look. But I realized watching Carter Buford interviews and watching his style playing and learning from him, when you play left hand stick, it's so weird how the body works it's almost like the left side of your brain starts to get more stronger. And then I started playing left hand. I was about 23. And then I started playing on the side that Carter was encouraging you. Then on your right side of your arm, you can do so much more with adding a extra ride cymbal crash or a bell ride lick or a floor tom lick, and your left hand is covering this side of the drum set of your side of keeping time, and your right side can do so much more. And that was the reason why Carter played his kit the way he did. And then eventually over time, other drummers kind of like, the guys who do that, they have more access to do other things on their right side. So, but not only that, it makes your limbs, it makes it look cool visually when drummers can switch off from left to right side playing. And so event influences, Carter gave me that massive encouragement to play both.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and inspiration comes in odd ways at times as well. And I guess speaking of which, do you do anything on social media, or are you just strictly on Instagram right now?
I'm on Instagram right now and also Facebook, and I'm going to start looking open to a TikTok account, and I don't know if Twitter is something that drummers can use. I'm not sure much about Twitter, but Twitter is one of them I want to look into. Then looking for more. I don't know whether other ones are out there except for the big three or big four, the ones I see. So eventually, yeah.
I would say be careful with Twitter, but proceed at your own pace, because it's Twitter, or now known as X, with what Elon Musk and everyone's doing.
Really?
I think more so on the politics side, it's pretty toxic, to be honest. So maybe you'll be all right in the music side, but I'd say be careful.
Sure? Are you sure?
I mean, anything could happen, really. I mean, you run into these kind of people these days, or it could be the Russian bots or Chinese bots, whatever it is that's causing trouble on these social media channels. But whatever, that's it.
What are the ones that you can recommend that you know of that I don't know?
Well, let's say Instagram and Facebook. Those are the two primary ones I use. But YouTube, I don't know. Did you mention YouTube?
Yeah, eventually I want to open my this year is where I'm going to try to make my own channel. Yes, that's the goal this year. Yep.
YouTube's another one, and I got mixed feelings with TikTok, to be honest, because I feel like people are saying, since it's made in China, Chinese government's like using your information for like this and that or whatever. But I'm not too sure. So I mean, it's to each his own too. So you can proceed with that one. Outside of Twitter, I really don't use too much.
Yeah, I know one so I do have another account. I have a Threads account with Instagram. That came out not long ago. It's a new thing that Instagram is doing, a side project, I guess, of what they have. So Threads, I'm on Threads right now. I just had like a couple videos on there. I just started with that one. So I do have three: Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.
I never really quite understood Threads, but it just seemed like it's an extension of Instagram. So it's like Instagram 2A, if we want to just say it's something like that.
It's more like, I think what I see people do, it's like videos you want to post that are shorts, or if you want to post something extra through them, they can follow that quicker, and then they can find your main account through Instagram, something like that. But it's like a side project that they're doing. But all the videos I've seen people post on Threads is shorter, like 30 seconds, 20 seconds. And I think it's just to get the word out for them, and then you can check their Instagram account.
Yeah, I see. Do you have to pay anything in order to get it, or do you just have to create an account for it?
Create an account for it. Nothing charged, nothing that I've seen, but it was pretty much the same way. And then it's crazy because your followers on Instagram, they will see that you have a Threads account, and usually what happens is when you're on Instagram, you'll see a notification pop up, oh, this person, blah, 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 got a new Threads account or got a new Threads video. So you just click on that, that little thing that pops up on your screen, your phone, and you click on that, and it leads you to their account. And that's what I was telling you, that it seems like their videos are just shorter, because some of the drummers that I follow, they have like their main account, and then you can see their full videos, whatever. Then they pop a Threads out, and you look at this same video, then it's a lot shorter. So I think that's what Threads is doing for people, especially music and musicians. You're able to have quicker videos through them.
I think some of the friends I do have on Instagram, I think the stuff they post on there, just not on Threads, just on strictly Instagram.
Right.
They'll basically just do like advertisements, or when they're doing a drum cover, for instance, they'll maybe just show them playing like a certain section of the song, for instance. And it'll just say links in the bio, or check me out on YouTube, something like that too. That seems to be what they're using it for. So I thought, I don't really see much of a difference with Threads, unless there was like some sort of more DMing or something like that. I'm not too sure. So I have to research Threads a little bit more. So,
yeah.
But I guess whenever you do make your YouTube channel, I guess for other social media that you're using, is there something you hope to achieve with those?
Yeah, my goal is I would like to be endorsed by Pro Drums. That's my first big goal. It's I would love to see if they can look me up, and I mean they have found me on Instagram. They followed me right away within a couple months of me being in Instagram, because I think I joined Instagram in 2021 in July, and then Pearl Drums followed me 4 weeks later. I got the icon, and then I DM them, or tell them thank you for the drums when I make comments on them. So they always see me pop something up, and that's something that YouTube hopefully does for me, is it opens up doors so I can be endorsed through Pearl Drums. They can give me some kind of contract. And then the other thing is to make some side cash for it. Plus, it's not about the money, man. It's just doing the love of music that people want to see. Because when I see drummers play on YouTube that are awesome, I mean, I'm glued to their channel. And I think sure you can understand that. You have your favorite drummers you watch on their channels, and it's gravitating. But what's funny? A lot of those drummers, I mean, they're just having a blast at what they do. And, I just trying to find the right cameras and the right angles I want to find, and do my research on that is my goal this year. I mean, that's something I'm going to try to accomplish.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's actually funny when you mentioned about Mac McDonough earlier.
Yeah.
I remember, were you real big into the LD50 album?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that one.
Around like right now I was in high school, or
2000, 2001, yeah. And gosh, I wasn't into it at the time because I was still pretty young at that time. So I think it came a lot later. But then I'm thinking like, man, this was a masterpiece of an album during the new metal age, when that whole genre was starting to take off too. But speaking of his drumming too, I was just listening to like Nothing to Gain, and especially near the end too, you're like trying to keep track of like, okay, what's he doing right here? It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't keep track. I'm losing count. So I mean, that's just.
Yeah, he's a technical drummer, because one of the YouTube videos I want to do this, because I have a set list of songs that I'm going to do for my first YouTube videos, and I was trying to learn Happy. Happy's crazy to say, but that's one of his easiest stuff is Happy. And that's still stretching it, because in the beginning of the song is basic, da 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 da, but it's like the second part of the song where he gets technical is his double kicks and his the way he plays his stuff. And when it comes to like the hi-hats, the bass drum, the snare drum, that man can do so many cool things just that department, those three things in the drum set. And I really have to say this much, that learning any stuff from Mudvayne will be hard. You got to really listen and really hear every note that man hits, because he's not a straight double kick drummer, middle drummer. He is like do, and then he plays these off times. It's like, God, man. And then you're trying to hear all the cymbal work he's doing, trying to see, okay, he's playing this in 4/4, or it's whatever odd time signature this guy plays. But overall, man, that's what makes you a better drummer, by watching these guys are just beyond me.
I would think I would have to say Fall to Sleep would be one of the more easier ones from them, to be honest. Or at least that, just in my opinion, just from like listening to it. That was like from their Lost and Found album. And I think the one I always got a kick out of was Determined. Outside like the LD50 album too. That one always seemed like a nice way to kick off the scene and everything too. So
yeah, I'm really happy that Mudvayne's back together, man. That was so cool. I mean, I know the Chad. I followed Chad on his Instagram account through Mudvayne, and of course I follow Mudvayne's account on Instagram. And Chad just DM'd me not long ago. He DM'd me because I made a comment on one of his videos, and I told Mudvayne, I said, hey man, tell Matt, I said, hey, and Chad responded to me. And so I DM'd Chad. I said, hey man, follow my account, see anything you like, appreciate it. So sure enough, he followed me back, and that was like awesome. But yeah, their whole band is like I'm just so happy they came back together. Sad to say that he lost Hell Yeah after Vinnie Paul's death, and all that stuff. Sad ending, but I always felt Chad looked the best in Mudvayne.